Good morning, I am Hannah Steele. Welcome. It's often said oil is the currency of power. But today, a new currency is rising, one measured in lithium, cobalt, and rare earths. Global analysts warn demand for these clean energy minerals could quadruple by 2030. And the richest deposits? Many lie deep beneath African soil. This is no longer a sideshow to the energy transition, it's a global power grab. I'm Hannah Steele, and tonight on Vord Radar, we're going undercover to reveal how Africa's mineral wealth is igniting new geopolitical battles beyond oil. As the world races to green energy, minerals like lithium, nickel, and rare earths have become strategic commodities. They're the lifeblood of electric vehicles, batteries, solar panels, and even defense systems. In short, the age of oil may be fading, but a mineral boom is just beginning and Africa sits at its heart. Global commentators note that this clean energy transition could simply replace one form of resource insecurity with another unless supply chains change. Africa is extraordinarily rich in these new gold. It holds roughly 30% of the world's reserves of minerals critical for low-carbon tech. For example, the Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC) alone has about half of the world's cobalt. And South Africa holds more than 75% of global platinum reserves. Zimbabwe has the largest lithium reserves on the continent. Overall, the continent boasts over 1/5 of the world as reserves for a dozen key metals, including fully 19% of what is needed for electric vehicle batteries. This treasure isn't hypothetical. Untrade researchers highlight that Africa's mines contain large shares of reserves in cobalt, coltan, lithium, manganese, nickel, and rare earths. In short, raw materials that once mattered most to OPEC members now lie beneath African ground. The question is, who will control them? This mineral bonanza is reshaping geopolitics. World powers are scrambling to secure supply chains, and their existing energy hierarchies are shifting. China already dominates the critical minerals world. It controls over half of global critical minerals production and about 87% of processing and refining. By locking up both raw mining rights and high-tech refining, China has gained enormous leverage. Recently, it even imposed export restrictions on metals like gallium and germanium to squeeze rivals. Europe and the United States are scrambling to catch up, and S&P analysis warns that China's grip on refining poses national security risks, spurring the US and EU to diversify supply chains and stockpile materials. The US now imports only 4 critical minerals from Africa, and only from 2 countries, even though 35 African nations have reserves in 40 of the 50 critical minerals. In other words, the West is far more dependent on imports than on tapping Africa's potential. To break that dependence, governments are launching joint ventures, stockpiles, and subsidies, and pushing new trade pacts. On the ground, the battle for Africa's minerals is intensifying. China's state-backed companies have been the most aggressive. China has gained a dominant position in Africa's critical minerals sector through long-term investments in mining and refining. In the last few years, Beijing has snapped up stakes in African mines, from a giant copper cobalt mine in Botswana to a new lithium mine in Mali and rare earths in Tanzania. Even BYD, the world's top EV maker, has secured rights to 6 African lithium mines to guarantee its battery's future. In fact, China now produces about 70% of all rare earth metals and 93% of the strongest rare earth magnets, tools that go into everything from iPhones to jet engines. Western powers are trying to counterpunch. The United States has boosted its investment in African mining, forging partnerships to lessen reliance on Chinese supply. As Brookings Institution experts note, African countries hold large stocks of minerals, manganese, cobalt, lithium, platinum, and more that could help diversify Western supply chains. At the same time, the EU's new Critical Raw Materials Act aims to source more secure minerals from Africa and elsewhere. Governments and companies from Canada to Japan are signing contracts with African governments, hoping to catch China at its own game. But big wealth can bring big problems. Africa has seen oil and diamond booms before, and often the money enriched elites while causing conflict, corruption, and pollution, the so-called resource curse. Experts warn the same could happen with new minerals. A recent study finds that the rush for Africa's lithium and cobalt is largely driven by foreign geostrategic interests and is likely to create adverse long-term socio-ecological impacts unless carefully managed. Untrade analysts echo this, cautioning that increased mineral exports could further entrench commodity dependencies and deepen inequalities if value addition stays abroad. There are warning signs. Environmental damage from mining, smuggling, and land grabs are already reported in several countries. That's why many African governments are not sitting idle. As one Atlantic Council analysis notes, nations from Ghana to Tanzania are rewriting mining rules, raising taxes, banning raw exports, and demanding local processing so more benefits remain at home. In 2021, the DRC even reopened old contracts with China, seeking better deal terms and development promises. If done wisely, African countries could use their leverage to build factories, create jobs, and fund schools, finally flipping the script from curse to opportunity. The stakes are high for Africa and for the world. Some leaders see this mineral wealth as a chance to shift global balance. Thanks to geology, Africa could become a kingmaker in green technology supply chains. Already, the DRC has shown a path by investing in cobalt refining. Processing its ore at home boosted export revenues by a factor of 36 from $167 million raw to $6 billion refined last year. Similar moves are planned elsewhere. Namibia will build a wind turbine component factory, Angola is developing its lithium fields, and Kenya is exploring rare earths. If African nations can negotiate stronger local benefits and avoid the pitfalls of colonial-era concessions, they can steer this era toward equitable growth. With this new leverage, Africa has an unprecedented voice on the world stage. The same minerals that fuel foreign cars and computers could help fund African universities, hospitals, and industries. African diplomats now sit at tables that were once off limits, from climate talks to trade pacts. As one commentator puts it, mineral wealth could update our trade regime and promote structural diversification for Africa. The coming decade will test whether African nations can use these resources to rewrite their development story and whether the global community helps or hinders that journey. Hannah on camera, Africa's ground could literally power the next industrial era. But power doesn't just flow through wires and batteries, it flows through policy and people. Will Africa's mineral wealth become a corridor to prosperity or a trap of dependency? The answer depends on choices made in boardrooms and governments around the globe. What do you think? How can Africa best leverage these resources? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this investigation eye-opening, please like and share your thoughts. I'm Hannah Steele for Vord Radar. See you next time.